Hi, I'm Brent Bates. I thank you for the opportunity to get to visit with you today about Oper8. Basically, let me ask you just a couple questions. If there were, what in your organization would you like Oper8 to be able to help you with? Mainly in the business administration, dealing with your employees and those types of things. Oh, you'd like to know what your employees are doing during the day? Okay, well that's a great need, and that's one that Oper8 can fulfill very well. What's another one? Oh, you have the typical problem of not being able to find documents and files and being able to have them stored electronically. Okay, well, we can work with that one as well. And I want to be able to customize my presentation, so give me the third one. Oh, yes. Well, backing up is extremely important, and there's a lot of applications that can do that, but Oper8 has a system that kind of balls all that up into one big item. Let me do this. Let me kind of try and explain to you what Oper8 is. Oper8 is basically something that bridges the gap between the head and the body. And I'm going to use a physical illustration. Every business is different from the neck down. Some of them do fine motor movements with their hands. Some of them lift heavy things. Some of them run fast. Some of them run long. And in fact, you have some of those things going on in different departments of the same organization. Well, the problem is that statistically, the average employee admits to wasting 2.0 hours, 2.08 I believe to be exact, hours on the computer. In fact, you've given them a computer that's more powerful than what we put the man on the moon with. You give them access to the internet, and next thing it's easy to understand how some of them are out on Facebook doing this and doing that. What Oper8 does is it bridges that gap between the owner and the manager and their business. It allows you to see what your employees are doing, interact with your employees in a whole new way, and in fact, we call it the next frontier for productivity is Oper8. Well, let's look at Oper8. Here you can see we're on my dashboard, as a matter of fact, and you can see that it looks very much like a daytimer, very much like Outlook. But basically, it's very much like Outlook on steroids. It's very easy to use. There's not much training for your people to look at it. The layout is such where you can see that you have appointments, and in fact, if you scroll over the appointment, it'll give you an explanation of what that appointment's about. You can see that you have your calls and your tasks. You can also see that below that, you have your goals. And then you have your calendar going out that anything that's colored shows that you have something already slated for that day. Well, let's look at the calls, because this is an important feature in Oper8. You come in and you click right here, and it gives you the phone numbers you need to dial. So you pick where you're going to try and get in touch with Jim Doe. You pick that phone number, you dial it while it's ringing, you click right here, he answers, and you say, okay, Jim, what do you think? And he tells you, well, my concern is that I'm afraid that you're too expensive. Okay, so we're too expensive. Well, if I can work on that, what would you be willing to do in reference to pricing and so on and so forth? And I continue to have the conversation, and I just chronicle what we talk about. Well, I come in and I go ahead and save that phone call, and then that phone call is part of the public record for your business. Everybody knows what that interaction was, unless I mark it private. If I want to go talk to Jim Doe about something else, I just click right there. It takes me to his personal contact. I go to the communications tab, and I can create a call, an appointment. Anything that I need to do right there with him can be done on the fly, all off of the dashboard that I come back to, because guess what? When I go and I mark that appointment complete, or that call complete, then it's going to pull up the next set of calls, and I'm off to the next phone call. So you never get away from working on your dashboard, which is great because it keeps those people right there on task, going from one call to the next call to the next call. Now, next you see the tasks down here, and what's wonderful about the tasks in Oper8 is you have the ability to delegate them. You can track them as to who's doing them, who's working on it, and who you may want to add to it. The goals are nothing more than kind of elongated tasks. Those are tasks that are going to have multiple calls and tasks associated with them. But what I really love the most about our dashboard is that it gets everybody in what you call the top left quadrant. The man that had the effective habits of effective people, I think the 7 habits of effective people, was a guy named Covey. And he talked about the top left quadrant, which is doing those things that are important and those things that are profitable. Well, how do you figure out what your fellow employees are doing? you can go to their dashboard and you can pull up their day and you can say, okay, what is he doing today? And you pull it up, well, he had the same sales meeting, he's got other people that he's calling and such. And you can go in and basically provide input for your people as to how their day might actually go. So being able to look at everyone else's dashboard is hugely effective. Now, the other thing that we did is we set things up in a project tree, similar to what your C drive on your computer would be. And basically, the great thing about this is it's very easy to work. There's virtually no training. And this is where you will chronicle the work that you're doing and where you would save it. Now, remember, the owner, you're not going to be chronicling what you're doing predominantly in this, because most of yours is going to be looking and acting as manager and owner, not as data entry. But this is where all the employees would come in to work. And so I'm going to go over to a child project here on this particular condominium that we're building. I'm going to go look at the design folder and pull it up, go look at the library. And by the way, we're pulling all this information from New York City. Well, one thing you can see is you can see how many different versions of this floor plan we've been working on. But we always get the latest and the greatest version, all right? Well, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and check out this document. It's going to come to me. And no, it's not. And then what you can see is that I take that document, I make a quick change to it, and I upload that document and create the next version. And so you can see that this document has got a number of versions, I think 26, 27, because I use this on all of my presentations. Notice also that you can see who put in the last version and what time. Hugely important so that you can make certain that you're using the latest and greatest information that's out there. The other neat factor is being able to come in and doing notes. And so here you see original floor plans for Unit A13 Fred and Ann Bates, my parents. And so as you go searching through documents, you don't have to actually open the document up to understand what it is. Then likewise, when you're in a project, you can always come in and go over to the project and create a reminder. So for instance, if you were looking at something as the owner and you wanted to create a reminder, you could come in and tell any of your employees, go back and look at the changes I made, or go back and look at the log that I made. And in fact, for the owners and the managers, predominantly what you're going to do is click, review a document, review a particular piece of information, and then give instruction as to how to maintain the integrity of that document and how to improve what you all are working on. This process actually virtually eliminates interoffice mail. And it also eliminates that big question that every organization has, who has the latest version of that file? Well, so we've looked at the dashboard, we've looked at the project overview. What I'm going to do right now is show you something called the communication tab, which we have one in projects that talks about all the things that have gone on within the project. But you as the owner, one that I'm sure you're going to use is in reference to your vendors and to your customers. And so I went to one of my people here that is buying a condo, and you can see that I've got 4 pages of 25 listings. So that means we have touched that person for 100 different times. I can query those out by appointments. If I just want to see the appointments, I can click there. If all I want to see is the phone calls, I can click there. And all of these business objects, I have the ability to go down and just immediately look at the details. So if you have an appointment that is pending and somebody's about to come to your office, the thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and see what has been going on. I call that contextual transparency. It allows you to see within context how your organization has been handling a certain person's account, and therefore you have the ability to go in and immediately have any discussions that you need to have, having been totally up to snuff with what's going on. And all this is reviewing with just a click. Now, unfortunately, the way America is, some people also consider the communications tab kind of your prepaid legal. What I view it is I view it as a prepaid not to have legal. Because if you do a good job of reviewing the activities of your organization, you catch any problems long before they fester into a lawsuit. The other item is what we call our activity reports. And this one I think is huge for you as the owner. It answers that question that you asked earlier, what do my people do out there? what you have the ability to do is scroll through their day, and this is mine, for instance, and if I wanted to, I could go look at a staff person's and see what is she working on. Well, there she's working on our listing of colleges and such. And even down to the point that if she had conducted a phone call, I could drop in and look at the phone call. There she's letting me that the mail has been done. The advantage of the activity log is it answers that question, what is that person sitting out there on that desk doing? It looks at what websites they've visited, what files they've opened on their computer, whether they're playing games, and then all their interaction with Oper8. That is the dynamic scroll version. The other version of that report is also a static activity report, which basically you can come back and do the same thing with the same people. And if I want to go back and look at what they've done for the last week, well, then I can come in and do accordingly. And as it pulls it up, if I want to look at the 37 documents that they have looked at, then it lists those documents out, and I have the ability to go in and look at it. I can also come in and see at what the explanation of that document is. And so it allows you to take the work that your employees are doing, one, understand and substantiate what work they're doing, but also allows you to come in and review and give the kind of guidance that, unfortunately, the way most people run their businesses today, they're not able to do so. Then finally, this is all built around security because we're working out of one big pot of information. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of the ways that you'll see that we handle security. One is our roles in security. And you can go and you can set up different roles. And what you do is you set those roles up with different abilities. Very simple checklist. We can walk you through and explain to you and customize to your content how you would like any particular role to engage in working with your information. Besides that, you also have the ability to mark things private at the business object level, meaning you can mark an appointment private, you can mark a document private, a task private, a project private, or whatever. And then, interestingly enough, should it come down to the point that you find yourself having to terminate an employee, guess what? With one quick click, they're gone. All the information they've ever entered into Oper8 is still your possession and your property as owner or manager, but they no longer have access to the system. So basically the profiles and the security are easy to manage and maintain, and you're just a click away from being able to control your information. Now, the most interesting part of Oper8 is how we have chosen to price it. And basically we've priced for performance. We've given you a free trial. You can try it for 30 days free. There is no contract. It is a month-to-month engagement. It's $50 per month per login. There is pricing breaks should there be a greater volume than the average small business. And you also get access to all our current updates of this product, as well as any products that are generated by Oper8. You know, we do presently have another product that's an activity tracker that is used by elementary schools that streamlines their procedures and their maintenance of records associated with gifted and talented kids entering in the computer. But there are also other facets of Oper8. You get the document management system and a lot of other things that could be standalone products are basically all rolled up into this one product Oper8. So in trying to sum things up, I think what I've shown you is that you can know what that person is doing out there in front. And you and I both know that there is probably some inefficiency in the fact that you don't have the ability to know what they're doing, provide some multitasking by reassigning tasks, taking some workload off of one staff member and giving it to another. All this is backed up and replicated once an hour. So that means that if your building burns down, you will not lose any of your information with Oper8. And it's replicated in 2 different locations, so it's even safe on safe to a great degree. We use a high level of encryption as your documents go across the internet, providing even additional safety and security for your documents. So we took care of the employees, we took care of is your information safe, and what was the third one? Do you remember? We took care of that too. Oper8, you can't beat it.